We're working on an ATV event in Red River Gorge, Kentucky.
Mm.
That might be a deal for old Keith, whatever. He might like that. And then Jeff's done talking about flying in for something like that. That's gonna be a neat deal. We don't. It's just in preliminary stages, but preliminary dates October, first week of October. So that's got. We're gonna talk. Chris and I are gonna talk more about that today, but that's I'm surprised we never thought about doing an ATV uh, event. Everybody likes doing that in the mountains. Y'all don't get to do that in Texas, I don't guess, but
Can I carry a gun?
yeah,
Colorado.
yeah.
Anyway,
You don't have to worry about catching any fish.
Well, on Red River Gorge, we'll be fishing too. Yeah. Anyway, well, listen, let me go ahead and finish some announcements, and we'll get started here. Golly, I didn't realize a week from, I guess tomorrow, I'll be flying in for the golf event. I'm going in a day early, hang out with Jim. Well, I always go in a day early, but Jim's going to be at the lake, so I guess I'll have to fish while I'm waiting on everybody. But
dirty job.
I don't really want to, but I guess I will. Yeah, Ray, somebody's got to do it. Lake Brownwood. So anyway, but that's our golf event. I went the last couple of days and practiced at the driving range. So I've really they're after me on the live tournament to join, but I told them I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Then we've got 2 weeks after that's the turkey event. Hey, we've still got. I think we probably got a couple of openings on the golf, and hopefully we'll fill them. I think one opening on the turkey, and the trout. Man, we just opened it up and it's wide open. I don't have, but I think maybe 3 people signed up for that. But that's going to be a good one too. And then of course, we'll work on that event hopefully in October. But anyway, well, listen, and yeah, so get in on all those if you want to. I'm going to, and again during the Zoom here, if you've got prayer requests, get them ready. And again, we'll hopefully quit in time to, you know how it goes. We're going to quit at the top of the hour, and we can have questions or comments and have a prayer, something like that. And we'll hang around as much as we want to. Since I was supposed to end last week, but since I missed, again, if you don't know, I went to AFib on Monday, riding my bike. I didn't know it until I got on my bicycle, off my bicycle. And my average heart rate was 185. It got up to over 200. So I had to go to the doctor and all that. And then the very next day, which was Tuesday morning, they scheduled me for cardioversion. It went well. I done a 20-mile bike ride, I think, on Thursday or Friday of that week. But, the problem is just keeping me out of AFib. So anyway, and I appreciate John for, filling in on such a short notice. I mean, it was Monday night that I called John, because I just found out that they wanted to do cardioversion the following morning. And I appreciate John jumping in as always. And Jonathan, I don't know if he's here this morning, but for 8 weeks, he was doing something at his church. The reason he's not been on here, this might be his last week too, but he was doing something at his church on 8 o'clock every morning during Lent, I think. So they fill in for me, and I appreciate John doing that. But what I felt like I needed to do is finish what I was going to do last time, and we were talking about the resurrection. So if and I gave you, I think, 5, maybe 6 things or whatever of this list, and I just want to complete that today, okay? And then starting next week, we'll get back to like we usually do, okay? We'll get back to reading the article, and I really like this article. I'm not going to read it, I won't care to, but it really has nothing to do with this. But I really like that article, that this particular one. So anyway, but I just want to finish this about the resurrection and how again we set up this whole 4 or 5 weeks was that we're to love God not only with our heart and soul but with our mind. That there are plenty of evidences in nature outside the Bible, outside of holy books that give evidence of God and give evidence of the person of Jesus and to give evidence of the things that actually happened in the Bible. And also, I mentioned that that when you look, when I was teaching students this, we would look at the New Testament, and we would not look at the documents in the New Testament as the Word of God. Again, I was in a secular school, but so we looked at these documents as historical documents, and that's what even atheistic historians do. So they understand that these documents in the New Testament are considered, and as well as in the Old Testament, but we just looked at the New Testament, that those documents are considered articles of antiquity, documents of antiquity that we can learn a lot from. And I could spend the rest of the time talking about that. I sort of want to sometime, of how, they determine things and how do we know what things happened and what didn't happen. Let me give you an example. If you were a historian writing in the days of Nero or Diocletian, which was, that first days of the first 100 years, if you were a historian and wrote something bad, it would be the last history book you wrote. If you wrote something bad about one of those guys. So, so the question would, that you asked then is, how do we know what's true? Then, if that was the case, well, we can know a lot. For instance, if we said that if today, if somebody was write a history about President Trump later, if it would look different if a Democrat wrote it than if a Republican wrote it. So how do we know what's right? Well, one of the things we would know was during, let's say, 2026 and 2025, we would know, both of them would say that he was president. Another thing that they would say was we were in a conflict in Iran. Okay. So there are certain things that no matter what your bias is, are facts. So you can look in the same thing as in the New Testament. But one of the things that we talked about, the last thing, was the fact that the resurrection, the writer Paul made it very easy for us or any person who's antithetical to Christianity, that he would make it very easy for that person to discredit Christianity. Because Paul said, as we read, Paul said that if there is no resurrection, there is no Christianity. He didn't put Christianity, of course. He put there's no faith. Your faith is futile. It's worthless. It don't mean anything. Okay. So everything in the Christian life, everything in Christianity is hinged on a resurrection. It is the greatest day in the life of a Christian is Easter. It is the day that Jesus rose from the dead. It gives meaning to his birth. It gives meaning to his death. And without a resurrection, it's just the death and the birth of a maybe a good man or another figure of history. So for centuries now, of course, since the resurrection, theists or atheists have been trying to discredit the resurrection. And as I said, that, and again, I know it's a long introduction, just bear with me. As I said, Gary Habermas, which is a world-renowned historian, asked other historians, it didn't matter if they were atheist or agnostic or theist, he asked them, what do you believe, what do you think happened, or what do you agree with happened concerning the story around the resurrection of Jesus? Okay, because nearly all historians, academic historians, believe that there was this story, that the person of Jesus actually existed, the historical person existed, and there's a story around the historical person of a resurrection. They believe that his followers believe that there was a resurrection. So what Gary Habermas did was he said, all right, what do you all think happened? And then he compiled everything to say, all right, this is what we all agree on, right? Remember that? For those who are here, this is what we all agree on. It became known as the minimal facts approach to the resurrection. So week before last, I gave you, I think now I see 7 of those. I'm going to read those first 7 very quickly. I'm not going to comment, I don't think, on them. And here's what those first 7 were: that nearly all academic historians across the world believe about the resurrection story of Jesus. Now, some of these are atheists and some of these are agnostics. So you can see this in the wording that is used. Okay. Number 1, Jesus died by crucifixion. And I will comment on that one and I won't on the rest of them, because this seems so simple, and yet it gives us 3 points of criteria concerning Jesus. Number 1, he actually existed. Number 2, he died. And number 2, we know how he died. Okay. So nearly all historians. So if anybody tells you that Jesus didn't die by crucifixion, you can say, well, really, nearly all academic historians, whether they be atheist, agnostic, or theist, does believe that Jesus actually died by crucifixion. So that's a matter of statement fact. Okay. So number 1, Jesus died by crucifixion. Number 2, Jesus was buried. Number 3, Jesus' death caused his disciples to despair, lose hope, believing his life had ended. Number 4, Jesus' tomb was found to be empty just a few days later. Number 5, his disciples had experiences they actually believed to be literal appearances of the risen Jesus. Now, again, that statement, you can see this agnostic lean that was in that. But the phrase is they actually believe. Now, an atheist would say it didn't happen, but that same atheist says that these guys actually believe they saw that. So it's important. So number 3 was Jesus' death causes disciples to despair and lose hope, believing his life had ended. And then we go to number 5, and it's his disciples actually had experiences that they actually believed that to be literal appearances of the risen Jesus. Okay, see how it changed. And these historians believe that. Number 6, his disciples were transformed from doubters afraid to identify with Jesus to bold proclaimers of his death and resurrection. Okay, now let me lean in on that a little bit. So if you remember, according to the historical documents of the New Testament, these guys, when Jesus died, they ran, they hid. Why? Because if they get in Jesus, they're getting everybody who's like Jesus. So they run and hid. And but now they're, instead of doubters, instead of people afraid to identify with Jesus, now historians agree that they now became bold proclaimers of his death and his resurrection. Okay. And again, what did they become bold proclaimers of? Not the great message of the Sermon on the Mount, or the story of the woman at the well, or the Good Samaritan. No, they became proclaimers of one message, and that was death and resurrection. And that brings us to number 7 that these historians agree with, and that is that this message, what message? The message of the death and the resurrection was central to the preaching of the early church. It was central to the preaching of the early church. Those historians agree that the sermon every Sunday that they heard was a death, burial, and a resurrection. Okay, and it wasn't just on Sunday; it was where they went, because the church grew, and the church grew because a dead man, a man was dead, and he came back to life. Okay, so he was dead and he came back to life, and they told the story. They said, "I seen it." Okay, so that's number 7. And number 8, this is number 8. We've not looked at this one yet. This message was especially proclaimed in Jerusalem, where Jesus died and was buried only a short time before. Okay, let me say that again, and I'll tell you why that's important. Said it was especially proclaimed, or this message was especially proclaimed in Jerusalem, where Jesus died and was buried only a short time before. Now, why is that important? That's important because, it's one thing if somebody, I said they resurrected in Texas and I was in Tennessee, because you can't go ask anybody. But it's another thing for me to say somebody, resurrected in Harrogate, Tennessee, and I'm saying it in Harrogate, Tennessee, right? So, this message that they preached of a resurrection was exactly in the same place where there was this death and the resurrection. So you could ask anybody, you could go anywhere. So the message was not just preached away from Jerusalem, but the message was proclaimed in Jerusalem, where Jesus died and was buried only a short time before. This is what is agreed upon by nearly all academic historians. Number 9, as a result of the preaching, the church was born and grew. Okay. This is, again, I know this is simple, but this is what nearly all academic historians believe. As a result of the preaching of the message of the resurrection, the church was born and grew. Okay. And we're here today as a church, ongoing and ongrowing. Why? Because of what happened back then. And then that leads me to the next thing, which still, blows my mind that I've mentioned it before. Number 10, Sunday became the primary day of worship. Now, it sounds simple, but Sunday became the primary day of worship, and that's especially powerful since early believers were all Jewish. Okay? Now, this means right after this resurrection, what we believe to be a resurrection, what agnostics believe to be a perceived resurrection, right after that, Sunday, the first day of the week, became a day of worship. And that's especially meaningful because most of the early believers were Jewish. And tell me, I don't, because you're all muted. And the day that Jewish people celebrated or worshiped was what? It was on a Saturday, right? And it still is. But here's what's neat about it. So you say, well, why today do we celebrate or worship on Sunday? When did that start? Well, it actually started after there was a perceived resurrection and what we believe to be a real resurrection. It started then. Now, I think, I don't get my date 100% right, but it was about the 1500s that it sort of became official. But when did they start doing it, move it from Saturday to Sunday? It was when they saw a resurrection, and it was the resurrection day. It was the day that Jesus rose from the dead on the first day of the week, right? So, and today we're still doing it, because of that one moment in time. That's number 10. Let me 2 more. Number 11, James, formerly a skeptic, was converted to faith when he also saw what he believed to be the resurrected Jesus. James, formerly a skeptic, was converted to faith when he also saw what he believed to be the resurrected Jesus. Now, why is that important? I read 1 Corinthians 15 the other day, and Paul is mentioning all the people that Jesus appeared to, and one of them he said, and he appeared to James. And why that's important is because he could have mentioned anybody. He could have mentioned anybody, but he mentioned James. Why? As I said before, James, and I've done a whole lesson on this, and it's really neat. Not my whatever, but just the story. Is James was the brother of Jesus, or the half brother of Jesus, to believe the older half brother of Jesus. And all through the New Testament documents, one of the reasons that most people would, well, that don't matter. But all through the New Testament documents, you'll see that the brothers of Jesus thought he was crazy. John and I talked about that the other day, that they thought he was crazy, that, the fame had went to his head. I've said it before that, he's a carpenter and all of a sudden he's a rock star, and nobody knows him. And now everybody's following him and he can't everywhere he goes. Okay. And his own brothers thought that he was crazy, that he'd lost his mind because, fame had got to him or whatever. They tried to get him to take all of his followers to another city. It's all in the Bible. You can read it. So in fact, we know when Jesus was crucified that none of his brothers were there, only the apostle John. And that's why Jesus said on the cross for John to take care of his mother. Okay. So, and yet we have what nearly all academic historians believe, that James actually was a former skeptic, his own brother. He was converted to faith when he also saw what he believed to be a resurrected Jesus. And we see it, and we know it in the Bible. We know that if you read later on in the book of Acts, who was the head of the church when there was an issue about what we should do in the church, you know who they went to? They went to James. You know, it was the first council. They went to James. Not only that, but we know we have this other document of antiquity in the New Testament called the letter of James. It's not real, creative, but that's what it is. It's the letter of James. And who is it? It's the brother of Jesus. And then we also know that James was martyred because he refused to denounce his half brother as the Messiah. Isn't that neat? That's crazy neat. Because you can fool everybody. You can't fool family. You can be a PhD. They're going to still call you Bubba, So, you can't fool family. And so James, historians agree that he was converted to faith when he became what he saw, what he believed to be a resurrected Jesus. And the last one, number 12, a few years later, Paul likewise was converted to faith when he also saw what he believed to be an appearance of the resurrected Jesus. Okay. Now, historians believe that. Why is that important? Again, we know Paul, don't we? We know Paul, man. I mean, he was whether he was personally guilty of killing Christians, we know he held the coat of Stephen. We know that he brought people to prison that may have died. We know he was instrumental in getting Christians beaten and jailed and the whole deal. And then all of a sudden, this guy who was rounding up Christians to bring them to prison is now, according to the historical documents, converted in a very radical way. And we have all these letters from him. And those historians agree with that. So listen. So let me pull some. So let me just hang on a minute. I got another minute or two. Let me open this document. So the question then is all right. So then what happened, right? If historians agree with this, if historians agree with that this is what happened, then why don't everybody believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, of course they may believe this, but there's a lot of there've been a lot of theories about really what happened then concerning the resurrection. Let me look here. All right, here we go. And again, some of these are hundreds of years old, and they've already been debunked because of these what we just read. Okay, but some of these were the theories. Some of the theories over time. There was one was the unknown tomb theory. That theory believed that the body of Jesus was buried in a common pit grave, unknown to the disciples. Well, what we just said debunked that one. That was a theory. Another theory was the wrong tomb theory. The women just went to the wrong tomb. Another one was the legend theory that the resurrection was these are all legitimate theories. These are what smart people have made up, okay, or decided. The legend theory that the resurrection was a fabrication that evolved over a lengthy period of time to vindicate a leader long since dead. Number 4 would be a twin theory. There was a twin theory that Jesus' twin actually was crucified. And actually, the Muslims lean toward that one. Number 5, a hallucination theory that everybody who thought they saw Jesus resurrected were hallucinating. And even the 500 that saw him at once were all hallucinating. Okay. And then there's a whole lot more. There's actually, how many of those? There's actually 13 of those. And the theories. The body was stolen was a theory. One of them was an old one, a resuscitation theory. or it's called the swoon theory, and that is that Jesus actually didn't die. He fainted from exhaustion. They got him out off the cross, and they sort of put a little medicine on him, and and he came back to life. It's a theory. The most likely theory, other than what really happened, was that it was called the alien theory, that Jesus was an alien, which is true, right? He was from another world. Anyway, so those are those things. And I'll just say this. So listen, you can trust your faith, not just from your feelings, but you can trust it from your intellect. Never be afraid of knowledge. Jesus said, you'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And that's just not talking about biblical truth. That's talking about truth in nature, truth in mathematics, truth in science, truth in whatever. All truth is God's truth, and you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So give me your prayer requests, and I'll pray, and then we'll let you discuss, or whatever you want to do. Unmute your mics, please, or let Jeff do it, or whatever. Anybody got a prayer request? Y'all keep praying for me, and I gotta not go back into AFib. I'm gonna have a sleep study. Pray for Dan. He's had good test results the other day, but they're still trying to figure out why he's so ugly. Dan Rhodes. So pray for Dan and me, and pray for the ministry for sure.
Hey Gary, with the number of events we have coming up, let's make sure and include that. Just the words clear, the impact on new guys coming and the guys who have been here before, and so forth.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I tell you what, man, pray. I need some gift sponsors for these events. This year's been slow on getting some gift sponsors. I need some gift sponsors for some of these upcoming events. So if you know somebody or some company, it'd be good. You can email me or call me on that. Any other prayer request?
Hey Gary, I'm still in the running for that new job position too. So if you guys would pray for me in reference to that, I had a conversation with a peer last week that went really well, and so if you guys would pray for me, it'd be a big blessing for me. So
we'll do that. I'll do that. Anybody else? Well, let me pray, and then we'll hang out a minute if you want to, or anybody needs to leave, we can leave. Lord, thank you for these guys. I thank you for their time that they've given this morning. I pray that you would bless them for it and replace it. God, just double their energy today, double their ability today, double what they can accomplish today. I pray for their churches, their families. I pray that you bless them physically and emotionally and financially and every way that they need you in their life. I pray that you would do that today and help us as you do that. And even when you don't do that, to realize that you're good and that we can share the goodness that you have with others. Help us to portray you as you really are. I pray for Dan as he continues his test, that you would, and we thank you for the good news of his test last week, and pray that that the doctors would keep figuring out what Dan needs. I pray for me and my doctors and my AFib and that situation. Pray for Rodney, that in this new job and position, that God, that your will, that he gets it, that he would even get it today. And I pray for that. Continue to pray for this ministry and the new things that are popping up and opportunities, and help us to just know which ones to take and what to do. And we pray for those who would continue to help make these events better. And pray for our sponsors and those who might sponsor. And I ask in Jesus' name, amen. All right, unmute your mics and anybody that's got to leave and go to work. Appreciate you. Anybody that wants to hang out a few minutes and got a word to need to say or want to say or talk about anything, we're game.
Gary, thank you for the lesson, man.
Well, it's good to be back. I couldn't let you go two in a row. They might replace me.
They might anyway.
NIL started today, so I'm
Nah, it's all good, man.
Yeah.
Good to have you back.
Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back.
Gary, appreciate you today, man. Good message.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Tom. It's good to have you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Gary, this is Michael Schmell. I got a question. I was following some was in the 1890 Bible that stated that
That you're breaking in and out, coming in and out. I can't. You're breaking in and up, breaking up. I can't hear you, Michael.
Yeah, we lost him.
Okay.
Gary, I want to give you a report on that golf course. It's beautiful.
Oh,
I've never seen that golf course before. Wow. I went over and shot sporting clays Saturday, and that place is beautiful.
What's it called? The Heritage?
Man, I don't know what it's called. I just went over there and shot sporting clays, but that's a beautiful place. Sporting clays range is awesome too. I'd never been over there.
You need to stay off our golf course, them shotguns now.
Well, you got to go through the golf course to get to the shotgun range.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I'm looking right here. What's the name of that place? I'm looking forward to getting there, man. I tell you, I forget. It ain't on here, but yeah, I think it's the Heritage.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, hey guys, we need to fill up this trout event. Right now, I think it's just me, John, and his brother Don. And I'm going to call Chris Moore because this is the cornhole capital of the world. Ain't it, John?
It is.
I mean, if Heritage is that beautiful golf course, in comparison, this is the cornhole capital of the world place. So you can fish and you can play cornhole.
Keith Stratman.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you need to consider this one, buddy. Come show us how to trout fish.
What is that in July?
It is.
That might be kind of rough for me. July.
I got you.
He's coming he's already signed up for the dove hunt.
Well, I know. I was trying to get him to the trout deal.
He's bringing 8 people with him. No, at least one, maybe more.
Yeah, Brian wants to come back again too. So
yeah, Jeff, it went out email last week.
Okay.
Yeah, we can drag it off that.
Demos is coming. I know that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, and he's going to bring some guys, I think.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, if you need me, holler at me.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great day.
See you guys.
You too.
hey, see you guys.
Y'all.
See you guys.
See you.
Have a good one.